Hi, I'm Tim Carter from AskTheBuilder.com, and I'm here getting ready to install an electric radiant heat floor mat. Now, what's that? It's a product that allows you to heat a room by just causing heat to rise up from the floor. And I have to tell you, radiant heat is probably the best way to enjoy warmth. I mean, you enjoy radiant heat when you're out in the sun. You just naturally feel those infrared rays, hitting your body. I have radiant heat in my home now, and I have radiant floor heating in the basement of my home, and it is absolutely luxurious. I really, really enjoy it. So let me show you the first steps of what we have to do with respect to this project. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So here you can see the mat. I've got it kind of folded up. I've got an OSB floor. You can see the cables right here and some of the stuff that goes along, with the project, things that you have to do. But what this room is going to be a man cave, and actually my ham radio shack. You can see one of the antenna wires coming in right here. And the room measures about 7 feet left to right, and it's about 12 feet wide. It's got a really nice window here that I can look outside. Anyway, the radiant mat needs to be adhered to the floor with thinset. That's the product. That's what's in this bucket right here. It's a gray powder. It's what you use to put ceramic floor tile down with. And then they say once the mat is installed, you have to cover it with 1/4 inch of the thinset. So the way that I did that to make sure that it's all going to be nice and smooth, I installed along the edge of the room here, you can just see it about a few minutes ago, these 3/8 inch strips of plywood that are nailed to the floor, and I've got them along the two 12-foot walls. So I have it on this wall, and I have it all along this wall here. And of course, when I ordered the mat, I made sure that there's at least a 2-inch gap. You can probably see it best here. In other words, the mat, there's a gap about that wide between the edge of the mat all the way around the entire room once the mat's in place. So that's very critical. You don't want this mat, to be tight, up against the wall. So when you order your mat, you make sure that that's the case. And the way the mat works, you can see it right here. You can see these cable lines that are in this fiberglass mat. And this electric cable, kind of acts just like a toaster, that you toast bread with. These get warm and these radiate the heat, back up through the floor. In my case, this OSB floor, I went ahead and made sure that it's got insulation underneath it so that I don't lose heat, going back down to the garage below. And of course, the walls and ceiling are insulated as well. I made sure that the floor was scraped. This is just smears on the OSB, but it's not a hump of drywall compound. And I did one other thing. Yesterday, I had some extra polyurethane, and I went ahead and I coated the OSB with regular clear polyurethane. You can actually see where I stopped doing it right there. And I did that so that the water from the thinset that I spread onto the floor does not cause swelling of the OSB board. So let's talk about the next step. The next step in the process, you have to read the instructions that come with a mat. And what they tell you to do is you have to have an electrical tester that tests the resistance of the electrical cables to make sure that the cables are working before you go to all the trouble to put it down. Because something could have happened in shipping. Something could have gone wrong. The mat's tested at the factory before it leaves, but you need to test it before and during the install process. Let me show you how to do that. So here you see the tag that came from the factory that's attached to the end of the leads of these wires, here. And the tag clearly shows that the testing, the ohms were 14.9, when it left the factory. And the way that they tested that is you can see there's a white and a black wire here, and you attach the leads of a tester that's like this, one of these ohm testers. That's what this, this is an ohm meter, a little digital one, works really, really well. And you just have to check to make sure that you get a reading that's very, very close to this number. And, there can be a difference in the ohm meters, but it's usually not radical. I tested mine and I was at 14.2, so that's right within the range of what it's supposed to be. So, once again, you have to use an ohm meter, you have to use a little digital multimeter, that's what this is. And you just have to follow the instructions. They tell you right here, in the instructions exactly what to do. So that's very, very important. Okay, the next step is for me to mix up the thin set. You make it just like bricklayer's mortar, maybe a little thinner. You want it to spread nice and easily. They say to use a 1/4 by 1/4 inch notch trowel. And when you apply the thin set, you want the lines of the notch trowel to be parallel with the run of the cable. And I'm going to make sure I do that. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to roll the mat up, and so it looks like a rolled up carpet, or maybe, much like a roll of paper towels, so that I can start at the window wall and work my way backwards towards the doorway, because there's only one way out of this room. And, you have to plan ahead as to how you're going to put this mat down. And I really don't want to be standing on the mat as I install it. So you'll see that in the next video. If you want to discover more home improvement tips, go to AskTheBuilder.com.